What's up everyone, this is Ryan here. Today's new talking video on the Craftsman compact blower. As you can see, this blower is going to have to get used this weekend again because I know that I use this thing to blow some grass again this weekend. Because you can see this thing gets used almost like every single time you see. It's got two balls in the battery, so I know this phone battery's got to die again this weekend again, which I'm not a fan of that, you see, which is, I mean, it's fine, you can see, but this is a CMCB or Z100, and this thing you can see, because this thing will definitely be used the whole season, you see, which is definitely by this machine being used almost a couple times. But this thing is, if I have an opinion, this thing gets used almost like every single time this machine gets used, almost like twice the whole season, you see, which is, well, because you know what, this is a machine being used almost a couple times, you see, so like I say, we'll be using it this weekend again during home mower season, and like I said, the last that this thing got used, the last got used was some grass in the refrigerator and anything like that, since Thursday. But it will get used again this weekend again. I don't know when I'm going to get this thing used again, but it will somebody will get used again. Like I said, this thing gets used almost like the twice whole season, you see, so it's definitely has that as a machine being used almost a couple of times, you see, which is definitely a little bit, because this thing gets used almost like every single time this thing gets used almost like a couple of times, you see, which is definitely looks like quite nice machine in my opinion. So like I said, this blower you say, it will get used again this weekend again during normal season, so definitely will look like quite nice machine in my opinion. And like I said, this thing was definitely getting used almost like every single time machine, but this thing gets used almost like twice, okay? So like I said, this thing was definitely used this weekend again, and definitely going to get used almost. I know I hope at some point this phone battery does not die on me this weekend, but I know at some point it's going to die, and I had to go back to the 6 amp battery.